Most people ignore church announcements.
Here's the good news. There's a simple formula for effective and attention-grabbing announcements.
Unfortunately, we tend to see churches actually struggle to use this formula.
So today, we're gonna write your church announcements for you.
We've got 7 events sent in by real churches, so let's dive in. Well, hey there, and welcome to the Pro Church Tools Show. We're here to help you and your church navigate the biggest communication shift in 500 years. I'm Brady Shearer, your host. I'm joined as always by my co-host. We call him Bishop Bigsby, aka Pastor Pittman. It's Alexander Mills.
Hello, hello.
On June 11th, I published a carousel on my Instagram profile with the title, The Church Announcements Formula. And the formula is pretty simple. It's one story plus one next step. In terms of how to actually do this, there's a couple of guidelines. Number one, you want to ditch the information overload. That means time, place, cost, date. I'm not going to remember those things. So get rid of it. And then replace that information with inspiration. Here you just want to tell a brief story. It doesn't need to be a special story. It doesn't need to be a fanciful story. It doesn't need to be an elaborate story. Just something simple. And then comes the one next step. And this is the invitation part. Our belief, send people to the same destination every single time.
Right.
In this carousel, I did not stop there. I took it one step further, and on the final slide, I said, let's do something a little bit different. I want you to post in the comments an event at your church. I'll select a few of them, and I'll actually prepare and write announcement scripts using this formula based on your church's events and happenings. We had over 400 comments come in. I responded to a few, pinned those on Instagram to say, hey, here's an example. Couldn't get to all of them. We figured, let's take it a step further on this podcast. That's the purpose of a podcast. Amazing. So we've got 7 total church events from real people, real churches in Pro Church Nation. Alex is going to cue me up with the event and the person's Instagram handle, and I'll create an announcement for that event using our formula to show you how easy and fun this can be.
Which is good because you saying when you're doing your stage announcements, ditch the time, location, cost.
Heard of it.
For most people, that's the only thing they choose to say. So you teaching us how to do this is going to be very helpful. Let's go right to the first one. All right, this comes from St. Andrew's Youth Ministry. On Instagram, we have a youth start of summer beach bonfire tonight.
Okay. Youth start of summer beach bonfire. So this is a once annual youth event. If you're listening to this and it is no longer summertime, okay, what's a once annual youth event?
We just had ours last week. It was our youth spooktacular night.
Spooktacular. Okay. Because it's like spectacular, but spook instead of spec.
Right.
Not bad. So I'm going to get into my idea for this announcement, but first we're going to set up our one next step, right? Because this is the church announcements formula. One story plus one next step. We want that one next step to be permanent and universal for all church announcements. So what I like to say is the following. Scan the QR code on the green card or go directly to firstchurch.com/life for all the details. In this example, we go to First Church. I was talking with a First Church, doing a little coaching with them earlier this week. So we're First Church today, okay? That's not their website, I don't think. Anyway, firstchurch.com/life. If you're looking for an example of what a page like this would appear as, you can go look at the church website masterclass that we recently published on YouTube. This is an exhaustive, comprehensive, watch Brady and join him in the process of building a church website from scratch in 1 hour and 3 minutes total.
Yes.
In that class, we talk about the next steps page on your website. That is the page that I would send people to. Firstchurch.com/life. You want to replace that link with your church/life or create a custom vanity URL that directs straight to there. If you're looking for the Connect card, we also talk about that in the masterclass. You can also look up Church Connect card, Brady Shearer on YouTube or Google. You'll find examples. You can download this exact template. It's a green card. Customize it for your church. Make it your color. On the back is a QR code. Where does that QR code go? It goes to the same next steps page. We're going to emphasize this one step further. Make an actual 16:9 slide. Put it on the screen behind you. It's the exact design as the backside of that Connect card that has the QR code on it. So if you're looking around in your pew, oh, I don't have a card. That's fine. Break your phone.
Somebody's toddler came pre-service and took all the cards. And they're half eaten on the ground. That person's toddler is probably me.
He said it.
So it's okay. There's a big QR code on the screen behind the person making the stage announcement.
This helps people identify the card if they're looking for it because they see the big green design there and then they see it in their pew, right? Easy to find. If they don't see it, it's a fallback. I can scan it from there. We also have that screen as a downloadable resource. All of it is in the church website.
We've done this for you.
Masterclass, okay? It's all there. I made the designs, it's all there. It's done for you. We're trying to make it easy. So that's going to be the one next step we use at the end of every single announcement. And that's the key to making it work in your church. We're not going to talk about the next step after this. We're just going to talk about the one story at the beginning for all these announcements. Same next step every single time. Why? So that way, when it's later in the week and you're like, oh, I know we have this event coming up. Why do I remember this event? Well, because you told an awesome story. We'll get to that. Where am I supposed to go? Well, every single time there is an announcement at church, they point to the exact same place. So I know to go to firstchurch.com/life. I know I can find it there. All my next steps.
Well, we know this works, right? We've used this analogy before when talking about how to make announcements for things, important events at church. It's the analogy of the movie theater, right? Like when we see an awesome trailer for a great movie online or whatever, I'm not being served what theater room it's in. It's in Studio 11 at Cineplex, playing on Tuesday night at 7, playing on Tuesday night at 9, playing on Wednesday night at 6.
I've forgotten everything you've said.
Right? It's like if I want to know where that movie's playing and when it's playing, I just know I go to cineplex.com. I go to landmarkcinemas.com and I find everything I need to know there. It's the same concept for every next step that's happening at your church.
And why do you want to see it? Oh, Tom Cruise is running in a trailer. I want to see this movie. What's the equivalent for the start of summer beach bonfire? Here's what we've got going on. Did you know that Oreo and Coke Zero are doing a collab?
I did not know this.
You did know this because I just told you. So the story that we're using is there was a person in youth group and they came up to you and you noticed that they were drinking Coke Zero Oreo. And you thought to yourself, this is obscene. And the story that you tell is, hey, we've got this youth event coming up. One of the youth, I don't know if you noticed this, I saw him here at church last week, and he was drinking Coke Zero Oreo, and I've talked to the youth pastor at this event. They're going to make sure that they have enough Coke Zero Oreo, and I don't know if you knew this, but the collab is two ways. There are also Coke Zero flavored Oreos.
Oh, jeez.
There's two, and we're going to have both. We're going to have them around the bonfire. It's going to be great. You can scan the QR code on the green card or go directly to firstchurch.com/life for all the details.
I'm inspired.
You saw him laugh organically in that moment.
Yes.
Now you might say, Brady, that story doesn't exist in my church. And I think that's actually the disconnect for why people have troubles creating these stories, because I can't give you a script of an actual story. I can give you examples.
Yeah.
And that's why we're doing 7 of these, to give you examples over and over and over again to show you, oh, okay, it's as simple as this. It's as simple as that. No, you're not going to have the Coke Zero Oreo story.
Sure.
Okay, that's specific to me. But you can do something similar. So let's go to the next one, and I think we'll start to get the picture of this as we go through.
Yeah. Okay, next example. This is from @DHammond7 on Instagram. We have Praise in the Park, a classic, coming up this month.
So this is the script that I wrote for this announcement. Quote, hey, it's pretty rare that we get the opportunity to worship outdoors, but later this month, one of our favorite annual traditions is back. It's Praise in the Park. What also makes Praise in the Park unique is the shared meal that we all enjoy. But can I tell you what I remember most from last year? It was the annual friendly church softball game. If you were there, we all remember Pastor Wayne popping out to end the game. You know, had a chance to win it for his team. Couldn't do it. Couldn't come through. You hate to see it. I mean, I didn't hate to see it. I was on the winning team. But anyway, one of our favorite annual traditions. Scan the QR code on the green card or go directly to firstchurch.com/life for all the details. So this is a simple technique for an event that happens annually. Recall something from the previous event. Yeah. This exact story is one that I remember from playing softball at my church. And the reason I remember it was because on Facebook this morning, as I was prepping this episode, I got a remember this from 14 years ago.
Good.
And it was a picture of me with my crazy long emo hair holding a glove at, we didn't call it Praise in the Park, but it was that exact thing. After we did church at the park once a year, we did the annual softball game after we had barbecue, grill out sort of thing. And I'm remembering what happened, and I'm telling that story. The reason these stories matter and the reason they work is because people will use these anecdotes and then bring them up in other places. So you bring up this anecdote and you recall for everyone, remember when Pastor Wayne, our lead pastor, ended the game? Hate to see it. Now, people are saying that to Pastor Wayne in the lobby. People are saying that to Pastor Wayne at Praise in the Park 2 weeks later, and it's becoming this thing. It's sticky.
Yes.
And for a story to be sticky, it has to be specific. And this is a universal truth that you can apply. I'm not just saying, remember when we played softball? I'm saying, remember when we played softball and Pastor Wayne popped out to lose the game? I remember because I won. The more specific it is, the more sticky it is, and thus the more effective it is.
Yeah, and it also, like, builds on the lore of the event. So
Yes.
not just are you going to talk about it, post service that Sunday, but when Praise in the Park comes around and the baseball game is beginning, like this is topic of conversation. The bottom of the ninth, Pastor Wayne is up again. People are booing him. People are saying, "Hey, don't pop out like you did last year." It just becomes this communal thing. And this is such a perfect example because what you said on the heels of the last example, which is like, okay, maybe these stories aren't happening exactly this way in your church, but you do have these stories in your church, whether you believe it or not. That is just so true. And I think what it requires is, and we've talked about storytelling on the show before, it just requires, it's kind of like a muscle that needs to be exercised, or the way I think about it, it's like an antenna that you just need to put up. You just need to have like stories and storytelling on your radar. And if you really catch the spirit of this episode and decide like, okay, I'm going to start practicing this philosophy, I'm going to start practicing this methodology of one story and one next step, I think you'll learn rather quickly that, oh yeah, these stories are unfolding all around me, and I can pick, like as you were telling this story about Pastor Wayne, I was thinking about our church picnic this year, and about how this guy from our church, Doug, came to me on the morning of the church picnic, and he said, "Hey, I did something." I was like, "Okay, Doug, what did you do?" And he said, "I saw this thing on the internet and I wanted to do it, and I wanted to know if you'd do it." And I said, "Okay, Doug, just tell me what it is." He had bought this white t-shirt and glued like hundreds of pieces of candy all over it. And he's like, "Yeah, I saw this on the internet. So basically what you're going to do, if you accept, is you'll put the t-shirt on and you'll just run out from behind the building. And then the kids are going to chase you and try and grab the stuff off your shirt." And so he just called this audible on our church picnic. And I'm like, "Sure, Doug, like I'll do it." So I put the shirt on. It was like this unexpected moment. It was mayhem. The kids tackled me. It was so much fun. That unfolded at our church this year. And that's a story ripe for the picking for next year's stage announcement. So these stories really are unfolding all over your community. It just takes like a little bit of awareness to start looking for them. And like we've mentioned before, writing them down in your notes, like on your phone as they come up, is really helpful for next year when Praise in the Park comes back around or the church picnic comes back around.
I promise you, your events will become so much more potent, and people will attend them more when you do this simple thing.
Yeah.
And Alex is talking about this antenna. Great word. I think awareness for this type of thing comes when you hear other people tell stories. So I told the story about Pastor Wayne. That triggers in Alex, "Oh, we had something similar. It looked like this." Now we've both told stories. Surely you're listening to this and you're like, "Oh, you know what? We do have something similar like that. It's this." And the reason we're going through this exercise is basically to show you we're not talking about fanciful, elaborate, huge life and death stories.
Right.
It's simple every day.
Yeah.
And Alex did something exceptional as he was retelling that story. He retold the dialogue between him and Doug, and he made it emotional. We talked about stories being specific. You also want to make stories emotional. What were you feeling in that moment? And so you could tell in Alex's retelling of that, there was a moment of exasperation where he's like, "Doug, just tell me what it is." He's building tension. There's a reason books are written this way, where you're reading the dialogue between characters, because that puts you right into the story rather than like remembering something and recounting what happened. If you recount it in real time as if that dialogue is happening, it's that much more specific, inject some emotion. It's that much more, you put those two things together, emotion and specificity, you're winning.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This one can be a little tricky. So this one comes from @DFocus. No, DF Uox. DFUOCS on Instagram. And they just want to advertise their first step class, the Intro to Our Church, which is like a class and a lunch for them.
Right. So the first two events that we've used as examples have been once per year, annual events. So this is a new challenge for us. This is a recurring event. Recurring events can be challenging because you need new stories each time that you promote it. And, you know, maybe the first step class, let's say this is very common in church, this happens once per month, right? Like Pizza with the Pastors is another version of this. It happens once per month. Let's look at this from the positive though. The cynical view would be, I have to come up with a new story every single month. The optimistic view is, I can build a lot of lore around this recurring event because every month I have a new opportunity to tell a story of the positive life change and positive things that are happening in the life of our church in this event. You have the event for a reason. It is positive. So the more you tell stories about how great this event is, the more people are convinced that, wow, we are so supportive of this. Why? Because over and over again, amazing things happen. So here's the script that I wrote for this announcement. Quote, "If you're newer to faith at our church, I would love to connect with you. pardon me, I say, if you're newer to faith or our church, we'd love to connect with you. Once a month, we host an event at our church called First Step. Gives you a brief intro to our church, meet the pastors, a nice meal. We host it right after service, so it's really easy to attend. Let me tell you about a family I spoke with that attended First Step last month. Husband is a firefighter, wife is a librarian, new to the area, hadn't really done the church thing before in a serious way. So we're chatting, and I come to find out that this guy competed at the World Police and Firefighter Games last year in Rotterdam, Netherlands. So cool. I mean, this church is full of amazing people with amazing stories, and I am so privileged just to be a part of this great community. We'd love to have you join us at First Step. Scan the QR code on the green card or go directly to firstchurch.com/life for all the details. So this event, I think, like as I was preparing the announcement for it, it was especially challenging because Pizza with the Pastors, if we're being honest, does a great service to the church. It's great for introducing leadership to new people. It's great for like, depending on how intense the class is, like indoctrinating people on like, this is the culture and values and DNA of our church. It's also usually a great conduit to get people involved in service. So like, hey, where would you like to volunteer? Where would you like to serve in this church? The challenge is, how do you pitch this as like, don't go to lunch, like come and be a part of this. And yes, you can pitch, there's a free meal. Yes, some people are the personality that really want to meet the pastor, but in today's day and age, it kind of seems like more people are just like, I kind of just want to exist in the shadows. I would just like to slither out. I don't really want to like make a big deal about this. So how do you get those people involved? And the route that I took was basically to not talk about like how valuable this is to you or the church, but basically just to talk about how like, as a person that experiences this, how cool it is to meet the new people. Like there is something vibrant going on in this church. This church is full of awesome people. It is amazing to be part of this. I'm so glad to be part of this. The implication is like, you want to be a part of this. That is a big motivator. People want to be a part of something that's going on. There's a reason why, you know, we were with a church in Utah recently. They've grown really fast in an area where that type of church is difficult to grow. A big reason for that, from my perspective, is that there is something really fun happening here. And we are all drawn to be a part of things that are bigger than ourselves, that are exciting. And so like, you can fabricate that, you can fake it. That's not what this is. This is talking about, I met this couple, they were really cool. Did someone in your church participate in the World Firefighter Games in Rotterdam, Netherlands? Probably not. But they did something exceptionally cool, and that is a great angle that you can take on this. I also want to talk about, I did at the beginning of this announcement, explain a bit more about what was going to happen at this event.
Right.
You might have noticed that. I talk about, hey, this is a thing. We host it once a month. This is what it's called. This is what we do. We meet the pastors. We have a nice meal. Why did I explain that? Because First Step is not descriptive. First Step is a name for something that means nothing to your prospective audience, the person you're trying to get to come to this event. So you have to kind of frame it up a bit. You got to provide a bit of context and then go into the story.
This one, if you do this one well, you kind of get to get two birds stoned at once here, because not only are you going to inspire new folks to come to the First Step class, but a First Step class like that requires volunteers to pull off, especially if you're doing a meal. So you keep talking about like how meaningful this class is to your church month over month because you're doing it monthly. All of a sudden, you've got folks who belong to your church who are buying into the vision of that ministry and are now signing up to volunteer for First Step because you are telling these stories on a monthly basis, as opposed to just getting up and say, First Step again, meet us on Sunday, and leaving it at that.
Here's a photo of me at...
There you are.
We'll put it on the screen.
We're going to put it on the screen for no one to recognize you. 2008, when I'm on the baseball diamond with Mr. Shearer in 2008, and he's coming around third base, and I'm instructing him to either hold or go home. And am I saying, Brady, go ahead, or am I saying, Cole, hold?
Yeah. Cole. Which 2008 is really hard to say.
What year was the name change?
I was 17 then.
All right.
I go off to Bible college. I move across the country. Cole, my middle name. Family tradition to go by your middle name. My dad's name's Kevin. He goes by Chris, middle name. I move across the country and I say, you know what? This is my Paul Saul moment. And I'm tired of the bank not believing that I am who I say I am. My name is Brady, which is my actual first name. So I change it when I graduate high school. My girlfriend and I move out of the house, our individual houses, move across the country to start Bible college. Now my wife, everyone calls me Braid.
Praise God. Okay, this next question coming in from @Sizzle and Jizzle, and I have to clarify, it's because the folks running this account are Selena and Jimmy.
It's a husband and wife account.
They went with Sizzle and Jizzle. I'm just reading it the way they put it. They're
Sizzle with a C.
Yeah,
it could be Kizzle and Jizzle.
It really could. It could be something entirely different, but they chose to go with that. Their event is a VBS, and it's Dive in Deep Ocean Theme.
Okay, so my script, quote. So as you might know, this year's VBS theme is Deep Ocean Theme, and I was tasked with getting some blue pool noodles for some of the sets that we're building. So let me tell you about this. I went to 10 different stores, no shortage of yellow pool noodles, plenty of orange pool noodles. Blue? Well, apparently they are the rare colorway of pool noodles. So if any of you have a lead on blue pool noodles, make sure to hit me up in the lobby and make sure your kids are registered for VBS this year as well. You can scan the QR code on the green card or go directly to firstchurch.com/life.
So good.
Now you got people coming up to you in the lobby being like, have you been to Tom's Pool Noodles Incorporated? I know he's got I'll hook you up. I got a inside scoop with Tom's Pool Noodles. You could also, this is a good example of using a story that becomes a recurring callback story in future announcements for the same event. So VBS, it's one of those cornerstone events for church, right? You can lump it in with spooktaculars, with Christmas and Easter events as like, yeah, these are like the big things that we do. Surely you'll have more than one announcement for these events. So sometimes what I like to do is, in the same way a comedian will lead early in a set with a joke that then they'll call back to mid-set and then as the finale call back to once again, I like to use these stories where this is an unfinished story. It's unresolved.
Yes.
But then what I can do is next week, I can say, okay, we're back with the pool noodle drama. As you may have heard last week, couldn't find a blue pool noodle, only found orange and yellow. But Ramsey came up to me in the lobby afterwards. He said, Bob's Pool Noodles Incorporated, that's where you got to find it. So I go there and, okay, you're not going to believe this. I walk in. And Bob says, hi, nice to meet you. And I say, Ramsey sent me. And he goes off, oh, me and Ramsey. We go, yeah. Great, thank you, Ramsey. I say, I'm here for blue pool noodles, please.
It's like, not the
and
blue
Bob's
ones.
like, you gotta be kidding me. We just sold our last one. Right, like this is all hypothetical, right? But I am recounting the most boring errand running. This is not anything that you would think is useful for story. This is boring errands. This is like finding pool noodles for a silly craft for a VBS. And yet, you tell it in such a way where it's entertaining, and as a callback, that's lore building as well.
Totally.
Because callbacks build this excitement, they build attention, the story gets over and over, and people are more likely to tune in for your announcements. They're more likely to remember the event is happening. They're more likely to take a next step. You're using the same call to action for every single announcement. People never forget. They forget time, date, cost, details. They'll always forget it. They'll remember how you feel. The specificity makes it real, and they remember where to go next. I think you could also take this a step further in that if you're using the launcher by Nucleus, and this is part of the church website masterclass, the launcher is free for every church forever, works on any church website. After I do an announcement for a cornerstone event, right? I wouldn't do this for every single thing, but for a cornerstone event like VBS, I would set up a banner on your church's website, powered by the launcher. Again, any church website can use this, it's free. Set up a banner. That banner is time sensitive. So it's set to expire in like 48 hours or whatever. Whatever you deem is the appropriate amount of time after a church announcement is made where you think people would go to the website and take a next step. But you could do this where instead of sending people that don't go directly to the next steps page, they just go to the website. Well, I forgot, firstchurch.com/life. It was my first time at church. I just went to firstchurch.com. Big banner at the top of the screen. Prime real estate. It's going to be there for 48 hours. Sign up for the VBS now. You click on that. That takes them to the info card, takes them to the sign-up flow. Just one more way that you can use the website in conjunction with your in-person announcements.
How's this for a callback? I just shared this story with you recently for our youth spooktacular event.
Spooktacular.
Yes. I set up a banner for this event for signups. The banner opened an info card. The info card led to a flow. That's where the youth or the parents signing up the youth would sign up for the youth spooktacular event. I set up this banner weeks before I planned to have it go live, because you can schedule banners to go live and to go unlive, or to publish or unpublish at specific dates. So I had done the work and I had scheduled it to go live, I think 2 weeks before the event. So I was in my email one day and I got a notification, oh, there's like some folks signing up for the youth spooktacular thing. And I was like, hold on, we actually haven't announced this yet. I haven't made the social post about it. We didn't announce it at church yet. And so I text my wife. I'm like, hey, did you tell, this girl, did you tell this girl about the youth thing? Like she signed up. She goes, no. So somehow this like youth in our church, she's 16 or so. I found out that she was just like browsing our church's website, I guess, saw the banner, clicked on it, signed up for the event before we had ever made an announcement about it. So that was pretty cool to see the launcher or the banners powered by the launcher working that way for us.
Prime real estate.
Yeah.
She couldn't miss it. It was right there.
Yeah.
It's not always there.
Yeah.
But for the time, it was time sensitive.
Exactly.
Prime real
And
estate.
she brought her friend who doesn't belong to church. She brought her friend along with her. They had a great time. Moving on. Next example, number 5. This comes from @TiffanySimmons16. They are trying to advertise a serve day.
Okay. I tried to pick events. I tried to pick a wide variety of events, the types of events that like every church has. Serve day. Classic. Here's the announcement. Quote, Serve Day is coming up. Last month, we had a blast. We were helping clean up Stanley Park across town. Started in the morning, finished around lunch. And we thought it might be nice to go out for lunch as a team. So we're trying to figure out where to go. Half the group wanted pizza. Half the group wanted sushi. So we had one person from Team Sushi and one person from Team Pizza go head-to-head in a best of 3 rock, paper, scissors match to decide. Anyway, Team Pizza won. And we shared a great meal together, had some great memories. We'd love to have you join us for Serve Day this month. Scan the QR code on the green card or go directly to firstchurch.com/life. Hope to see you there. What are you smirking at?
It's just so good. It's just like you just come in with the hook right at the end. It's like, anyways, so sign up for the
Hope to see you there.
Yes.
Why would you want to be there? Well, because you just talked about how like we all had a great time.
Yeah.
And like it was amazing. And we're also glad we dedicated the time to this.
Yeah.
What's the implication? If you're not there, you're missing out. Could you say, don't miss it?
You could, but should you?
You could also say don't miss it without ever using those 3 words. This here is talking about all the fun we had.
The announcement says, it, like in the way you presented it, the story you told, it's like, it makes you feel, I don't want to miss this.
Which is so much powerful than just claiming don't miss it.
Yeah, so good. Ready for the next one?
Yeah, keep it rolling.
This is from @HC Student Ministry on Instagram. They want to advertise their summer discipleship groups that are starting this Wednesday.
All right, discipleship groups, whether they're summer, whether they're small groups, we all have them, seasonal, permanent, whatever. Quote, discipleship groups are really the heartbeat of our church. And what's fun is that there are so many different options to choose from. Last summer, I did a pickleball group, believe it or not. Honestly, I was awful at the game. Did I resent the game a little bit? Who's to say? I remember getting ready for the first group night thinking, okay, what are you supposed to wear for pickleball? Like, how serious is this sport? And on the first night, I got teamed up with a guy at our church. His name is Mike. Turns out Mike has 2 daughters just like me. And he had played a couple of times before. So he was sharing pointers, said, hey, maybe next time don't come. You know, you look a little intense. Like, this is a little more relaxed.
Down, yeah. And take the headband off.
Like, wrist guard, not necessary. Later that summer, Mike's family and I, we got together, had the kids, of course. They're all playing together. And this is why we love groups so much. And we really want you to get connected this summer. You can scan the QR code on the green card or go directly to firstchurch.com/life.
Love it. All right, last one. This is number 7. This is from @Jessica Kovach Photography. Hey, go check out her photography. She says we're launching a monthly worship night, music, sermonette, group discussions at her church. She needs to know how to advertise this one.
Okay, a couple challenging things about this announcement. The first is that you need to find a way to differentiate this from Sunday morning service if you want this new event to have people come to it. Like you're launching a new event, and let's be honest, it's in many ways a carbon copy of a Sunday morning service. Now you might say, well, no, it's not. The sermon is deeper. The worship is longer. The spiritual time, more aggressive. But that's like the XFL saying, we're not the NFL. Well, right. You are.
Yes.
And I like the NFL better.
It's not going to work.
So I don't know. No. We hit harder. So, okay, like, whatever. So in an announcement and in the pitch for this, because you're basically pitching this, right? This is a new event, and you're likely going to have an announcement for it every single month because it's like this once monthly thing. You have to find a way to inspire and motivate people to go. And a big part of that you have to understand is I need to prove to them that this is different. This is worth their time. Obviously, a youth night is different from a Sunday morning. A small group is different from a Sunday morning. This, I don't know so much. Here's the announcement that I wrote. Encounter. I'm calling this event Encounter.
You and every other church.
Okay, good. Yeah. Encounter. is the last Sunday night of every month. It's a dedicated time to go deeper in our relationship with God. One of the cool parts of Encounter is the group discussion. And we were seated around a table talking about the word of Jesus in Matthew 11:28 at the last one. Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And a woman across from me talked about what that meant to her in the challenging season that she was in right now. And, you know, at least for me, just hearing her testimony, her story of perseverance and resilience and reliance on God was profoundly encouraging to me, and it really built up my faith in that moment. And these are the kinds of moments that make Encounter so different from a Sunday morning service and so rewarding. We hope to see you at the next one. Again, final Sunday of each month. Scan the QR code on the green card or go directly to firstchurch.com/life.
Wonderful.
Another thing, sometimes you will feel like, okay, Doug won't mind if I share this story.
Sure.
Other times, you're not going to have permission from someone to tell a story. Like, you wouldn't have asked them. Mm-hmm. It's not that they said no, you just wouldn't have asked them. And you might feel like, am I comfortable sharing this publicly? Like, this is a profound, and like, this testimony, people need to hear it, but also like, I got to clear it with this person.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not ready. This is a way to tell that story without in any way like revealing that person or revealing anything about that person that would be uncharitable or ungenerous. What you do is you talk about what they said and how it impacted you. And that allows you to get the emotion into the story and the specificity while keeping their actual testimony anonymous.
Yeah.
Now, people at that table might be like, oh yeah, he was seated across from Stacy. Okay, like, but you were also at that table. So you know we're talking about Stacy, but no one else is like, oh, now I know this deep, dark secret or what they're really going through.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about why I mentioned this was on the last Sunday of the month.
You said no times and dates.
That's right. So why did I mention that? Because this is a regular, ongoing event. We talked about the lore. It's not on a date. It's on a specific rhythm.
Right.
So I can say that every single time. Mm-hmm. Encounter is the last Sunday of the month. Encounter is the last Sunday of the month. One of the challenges with one of these types of events is people go, is it this week or is it next week? If it's always on the first Sunday or the last Sunday, it's crystal clear when it's happening. Mm-hmm. If this was a one-time event, our one night with Bethel is on the last Sunday of the month. I probably wouldn't say that because like there's no chance of people remembering it. Mm-hmm. And there's no chance they remember it likely the first time I say it. But because we make an announcement for this every single month, on year 2, 25 announcements deep, I've said it enough times where it's built into the culture. We understand the rhythm of this in our church calendar. It is the last Sunday of the month. Any final thoughts?
This is a proven framework, the one story plus one next step. Storytelling, we talk about this at length. It's just the most effective means of human communication. This was proven to me not that long ago. This summer, I was invited to speak at a men's thing. And the guy who was coordinating the men's thing, when he had me, he introduced me as, this is our preacher. And he starts telling the story. He says, I visited Alex's church a year ago. And he said, he told this story about dill in his garden. And he recounts the story that I told as an illustration of my sermon. And I was just like, it was the power of storytelling just proven before me. It's like, oh, that story about dill being a prolific seeder in my garden, was relative and relevant to the sermon as I told it a year ago, but it was so sticky that he recalled it a year later, and it now has a relationship for it. It has a relationship for him in the context of what Jesus says about mustard seeds in the kingdom of God. So the storytelling was so just meaningful to him. It marked him in a way, literally a year later. And that was just an exclamation point on this thing that we always talk about, the power of storytelling. And we want folks to come to these events we're doing at church. That's why we default to saying, don't miss it, because
we care.
We don't
know what else to say.
These events are really good. Truthfully, we put a lot of effort into them. We want you to come because we put a lot of work into Youth Spooktacular, whatever. So we just default to saying, don't miss it, because we don't want you to miss it for you. And frankly, we don't want you to miss it for us. But the truth is, the underlying truth is, this stuff that we do at churches really matters, whether it's Serve Day or groups or monthly encounter nights or Youth Spooktacular events, whatever it is. And the way to inspire folks to come, to take that next step in their journey with Jesus, the most effective means to do that is by telling a simple story and leading them to one place for all the next steps. And so this framework, how long has it been since you've been teaching this framework?
Close to a decade.
A long time. We're really playing the hits here. And that's because it really works. And I just love the fact that we've been able to go through these real requests and kind of hypothesize some ideas of how you could approach these with storytelling. And so I'm excited for this episode and for the folks who've listened to it, because I think it's really going to equip them in how they talk about things at their church, and then in turn, how well attended they are. So I'm excited about this.
We went through 7 specific examples. I think what Alex just mentioned is a great 8th bonus example. When you're introducing a person to your church, a guest speaker, whatever it might be, your church, do not have the same relationship that you do with them. Likely you have a relationship with this person. That's why you brought them in to talk to your church. When you introduce someone, the whole idea is I have a rapport with them and the church has a rapport with me. And I need to do something in this intro to create the beginning of a rapport between the church and them. What do? This person is a thought leader.
Oh, please stop it.
They're an author.
Don't go any further.
They're a pastor. You wouldn't believe this. They're a father.
They have so many kids.
Put your hands together for Pastor Alexander Mills. What is so much more powerful and effective is to tell that simple story, because you're like, why do I care about this person? Here's a story about why I care about this person. And without saying it explicitly, it says to the church, this is why you should care about that person. Let's recount those events. So 1 year ago, Alex told a story about dill and what it meant for the kingdom of God. That story was so effective that one of the people in the audience heard it and didn't forget it. Then that person retold that same story as a way of introducing Alex to a new audience. Alex then retold the story of the pastor retelling the story that he first told. You do not have to be a skilled communicator to do this. And this is another reason we preach it. We are all innately good storytellers, and we are innately good at listening to story. Maybe the reason is because story is so potent and powerful. It doesn't matter how bad you are at it. Like, it works irrespective of your skills. If you make it emotional, if you make it specific, and you keep a log, you're never going to run out of ideas. And I promise you, this is one of the most effective ways at getting people involved and getting people excited about your church's events. I'm excited.
I'm excited.
To talk to you all next Wednesday. Thanks for your time, attention, and trust. We'll talk to you next Wednesday. Oh, I'm wearing white today. Wow.
We're wearing white. Both of us. Wow.
After Labor Day. What a faux pas.